What's happening, everyone? Finale. It's over. The finale of Watchmen HBO. It's officially over. Jeff Lowe, Robbie Fox, KenJac. We're here to discuss not what the hell is happening, what happened.
What the hell has happened? Yeah.
Yeah,
Past
because
tense.
this is it. It's done.
Sad.
It's very.
Do you think it's done for sure?
I hope it's done for sure.
You know what?
Yeah.
I'm sort of with you, but HBO kept calling it a season, and I feel like they would have called it a miniseries or the series finale if they didn't want more. At least I think, without a doubt, they're going to tell Lindelof, "Listen, if you want to come back for season 2, you're welcome."
Maybe HBO's leaving ambiguous, as they're known to do.
But
He's had quotes that have changed even over the course of a few weeks, it sounds like. But he definitely is consistent, Damon Lindelof, that is the creator of the show, consistent with the fact that he does not have an idea for a second season.
And you know what? Don't come back until you have that idea, because this is perfect. This is a perfect game of a season. I'm good with this being the only Watchmen Damon Lindelof ever does.
We'll get to the quotes, but before we get into it, do we like it? Do we like how it wrapped up?
I loved it. I thought the
I
finale
agree.
was perfect. They stuck the landing perfectly, as we've been saying with all these different things wrapping up. And I thought back to when this was originally announced and we saw the first trailer. I was so disappointed. I was like, look at this. They're taking the fucking cool aspects of what looks cool in Watchmen, and they're just telling their own story. This is lame. Shame on me. I was incredibly incorrect. This is, you could add Watchmen to the list of things that I think the sequel is better than the original. I'm saying it. Sorry, I said it.
It's a fair take. That's a fair opinion. I would probably agree with you.
Unbelievable.
I probably would.
No, I think you're completely right. I think that there's a lot of wrapping up of storylines and arcs that we were kind of curious about, even as we said in the last episode. So they wrapped all that up. They left a lot of stuff ambiguous, but not ambiguous to the point where I'm like, I need another season of this to understand what is happening. It was ambiguous where maybe I want to see more, but I also kind of don't. I think everything that we wanted to know, we now know, which is exactly kind of what we were afraid of. Lindelof lost, blah, blah, blah. We don't want it to be too ambiguous. I think it was a perfect level of ambiguity to end the series.
he was right the whole time when he was like, no, I'm going to pay everything off. I promise you, I'll explain everything. He did. Everything was explained.
There aren't really any loose ends at all. I mean, there's an ambiguous ending, which we will get to, but that's, what he does, and I think he wants to do that. Like, that was always his goal. He even teased it. He said, I'll tie up all loose ends, but there will be a bit of ambiguity. We'll get to what that exactly is and what it means and what he wants you to think it means or what he wants you to pull from that. Because they did do, him and Craig Mazin, the guy who did Chernobyl, did another podcast. They recapped episode 7, 8, 9. So I got some quotes
Definitely
from that.
listen to that, by the way.
Yeah, listen to the whole thing. Don't just take what we're saying from it. It's worth a listen if you watch this whole series. But I'll let you know. We'll relay kind of what Damon Lindelof said. Starting off with Easter eggs, though. Literal eggs.
Yeah.
That's, I think, the biggest Easter egg.
Easter eggs, yeah.
The final song in this show is I Am the Walrus, which has many lyrics that you could tie into the show. Many, but probably the big one is I Am the Eggman and also See How They Fly, which was the title for the episode.
Yeah. I think it was Trent Reznor singing it.
Was it?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Was it?
It sounded like his voice.
Okay.
Interesting.
See, I didn't pick up on that.
Neither did I.
But I watched the show with subtitles because you pick up on a couple things here and there. It always helps. And at the bottom, you couldn't hear the music quite yet, but the subtitle said playing I Am the Walrus.
Yeah.
I'm like, motherfuck, they did it.
I have the same thing playing, and I was
the eggs.
stoked. I was like, yes.
Here's
awesome.
Here's something that Lindelof did say in the podcast. He mentioned that the motif, look at this, smiley faces, all over, obviously, the original Watchmen.
Yep.
He said, we only had one of those in this entire series, and that was...
The opening opening episode.
The opening with the eggs.
Oh,
and that
yeah.
was him saying eggs are now our motif for this thing, for Watchmen. But we wanted to pay homage to the original, and it's kind of like a passing of the torch.
Interesting.
So it all ties back to the first thing we fucking said.
So they're saying smileys are the motif of the original, eggs are the one of this?
Yep. Which it wasn't the first thing we saw. It was the first thing after the flashback, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it was the first thing we saw in present day of where the show is set. We return to Karnak. Adrian Veidt's lair, his headquarters on Antarctica. We see the squid. In the big tank, kind of hiding out.
Big ass squid.
That was cool.
Super cool.
I like that. That was a neat little just visual. It was very quick. He's recording the video that we've already seen, the video that he's sending to Robert Redford, telling him, congrats, you just become president. So he's recording it, on 11/1, I'd imagine? Yeah.
I was thinking, what did all those people, what did all the workers think when he was recording that?
Maybe they didn't speak English. They were all Vietnamese.
Well, I imagine he killed all of them because
that too.
Because Lady True does mention that beyond
she
her
snuck
mother,
out, yeah.
after she injects herself, which we'll get into that storyline, she escaped. She slipped out into the night. So it sounds like everyone else probably died because we do know that he killed off basically everyone who was associated with him.
But the people, while he was filming, are they like, this guy's fucking out of his mind?
crazy.
He's
nuts.
literally,
Pays well.
or
Crazy.
are they like, were they aware because they saw the squid? I don't know.
Yep. Computer password when beyond Lady True's mother types in a password as Ramses2, which is the exact password from the book. If you go in the graphic novel, it's the same computer he has in his New York headquarters, same password. Doesn't change his password.
Bro, you got to change
Gotta change the passwords up, bro.
Smartest guy,
change that
and that's obviously Greek mythology, Egyptian mythology, all that shit. I forget which side of the coin it is. I'm not that smart, but it does mean Ozymandias, so it's his fucking name.
Come on, dude.
I mean, smartest guy in the
sort of
world.
Perfect.
Smartest
at the same
dude in the
time.
world.
Like everyone always has like a password that's too easy to guess or whatever.
Make it
That's kinda
password. Make it Ramses 123. Do
Yeah.
something different.
Make an @ sign in.
Yes,
A or
but throw
something. I
like
don't know. Yeah.
a special character or something. Come on.
A lot of Alexander the Great references in here. Sci-Fi picked up on this one because, again, I'm not very smart. So credit to Sci-Fi for this Easter egg. But the prompt when they're typing in the password is untie knot, which is a direct reference to Alexander the Great. We see the painting behind him. His semen hides behind the painting of Alexander the Great.
I didn't like you saying semen there.
Yeah, sorry.
Lady True says come.
She just says come, yeah.
Yeah, straight
Come
up.
is easier. Come is
Yeah, but
you got a
Lindelof
bunch
said
of cum
semen.
back there.
Lindelof's, no, Craig Mazin said
We're
semen
not, we're
in
not
the
doctors,
podcast.
though.
Yeah.
No, I felt that was-
semen sounds
It's a gross word. It's a gross word.
Probably the coolest Easter egg of the episode. The catching of the
Yes.
bullet.
Oh,
I
yeah,
knew
that
it.
was-
I knew
that
it was gonna
really
happen.
cool.
See, it didn't even cross my mind.
No,
Because that's
me
the one
neither.
thing I was thinking about with Ozymandias. I'm like, we got to see him catch a bullet at some point. And then once the game warden pointed the gun, and I'm like, oh god, are we gonna get to see it? And like he shot him, and I didn't see him move his hand. I'm like, oh, all right, well maybe he just hit his arm or whatever. But nope, caught that fucking bullet.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming.
He's been pretty poetic, this character, about repeating things from the book. So me not seeing that coming for a guy who's like, I mean, geez, like pouring over notes.
Yeah.
Like the fact I didn't fucking pick up on that is so disappointing.
That was good stuff.
That was it was probably the coolest Easter egg.
And even his hand was all bloody
Yep,
when he
all
did it.
hurt.
Like he was
Who
getting like
shoots
older and
in the movie. Does Dan shoot or does Laurie shoot like in the graphic novel? I forget.
I want to say no. Laurie shoots him.
Laurie shoots
Okay, I
him,
just,
yeah.
With the revolver,
I don't know
yeah.
why I thought it might have. Yeah, but Laurie shoots him in the graphic novel in the movie, and he catches a bullet. He's always bragged about catching the bullet.
At least he has the glove on in the movie. He
Yeah.
does barehanded it in this
doesn't.
one.
He's
pretty sick, like Jorge Posada or something.
He's been planning for 8 years.
Yeah, it's crazy.
8 years. He's like, he knew he's going to catch that fucking bullet at some point.
insane.
He does say the end is nigh, which is a phrase uttered many, many times, but mostly by Rorschach and through a sign.
Yeah.
He always has a sign that says the end is nigh.
The
We've
sign
seen
was
that.
a big thing. Why did people ever say
Yep.
that? Why don't you just say near?
Near.
Yeah, it's,
know
a
what
pretty,
that means.
cooler.
it's a pretty douchey phrase.
It's definitely
Then
cooler.
it's close by. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little more. It's a
Biblical.
little more ambiguous.
Yeah.
He does
Biblical-
say it too to the guy at the newsstand.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
that guy at the newsstand has a lot of parallels to Bernard, the guy who's at the newsstand in the
It was
graphic
funny.
novel.
That was a
movie.
funny scene.
It was just kind of perfect because if you look in the graphic novel or in the movie especially, he has the end is nigh sign. Rorschach does by the newsstand guy, and he says about the newsstand guy. And it's again funny parallels to the graphic
like
novels.
poetry.
makes
It rhymes.
It does. George Lucas would love Watchmen.
Oh my God,
just for the poetry itself.
Love these eggs.
He also repeats the Israel is desolate and her seed is no more quote, which he mentions after he enacts the squid in the graphic novel. For this time, he is saying it before Lady True enacts her version of the squid, her own doomsday or world-ending thing that will, well, not world-ending, that will save the world, quote unquote.
Yeah.
So he says the same phrase and again, we just said it. It's poetry with Adrian Veidt at this point. He just
Yeah.
repeats things.
Now it's switched. Now the seed is now his daughter instead of the seed being like his own seeds of destruction in the squid.
That was good. That was
Yeah.
a good fight.
Someone said, I think we quoted someone saying it last time, or one of you said it. He plays the greatest hits. That's what Veidt does.
Yeah.
Catches the bullet, saying quotes like people don't hate it.
Reruns, if you will.
Yeah, he is a rerunner. He just drops squids over and
Yeah.
over again. The Keene family. Two quick things in the Keene family. We see Senator Keene Sr., the guy who did the Keene Act, which outlawed vigilantes, which is why Dan Dreiberg, Night Owl's in jail, which is why Laurie's part of the FBI, all that. We see him, we're old ass bag rolled in, old racist. He is,
Shit ton of racist wheeled in there.
He's rolled on in. Senator Keene Jr., who is the Senator Keene that we've known throughout the episode, throughout the series, who we now know wants to become Dr. Manhattan. He declothes, and
Laugh
I was
out
like,
loud.
I laughed. Oh, it's so
I
good.
thought we were gonna see his dick. I was like,
Yeah.
another dick. No, he's wearing the Dr. Manhattan
Like the
V-shaped,
weird V.
high-waisted underwear.
but it's
Yeah.
super similar to the one from the graphic novel. It's
Yes.
like
Yeah.
it's an exact replica. Laurie makes fun of it, like your panties look
Your
stupid.
panties look so stupid.
It's so funny. And shout out Keene. We'll get into the plot and we'll get into the whole monologue he goes on. We've been saying the whole season,
Yeah.
the whole series, he's been such a great actor. He fucking shows off in this episode.
time.
He becomes a
Goes
cowboy.
for it.
Yep.
Oh my god, he was so good.
He has cowboy boots on and everything.
So good. In
He literally says yeehaw.
he went for it.
He's
He went
so
for it.
evil.
Go
You're-
big or go home.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned he reminds us of Homelander from The Boys.
Yeah.
Such a great Homelander vibe throughout this
Yes.
episode from him.
More pulling from the graphic novel, just some quick quotes. Thermodynamic miracle. Lori references it at one point. She's talking about the fact that Dr. Manhattan is now here in Tulsa and how they found it all out. And he's right in front of her. Lady Truth says, "Do what?" when she's making her big speech to the Cyclops. They're like, "Just do it." And she's like, "Do what?" And that is, to me at least, almost an exact replica, just kind of flipped a bit of when we've talked about this scene where Veidt says, "Do it," like I did it 35 minutes ago, and he dropped the squid.
Yep.
But she's kind of doing her big discussion or her big villain speech. And Lindelof in the podcast says, like, the bad guy revealing plan is such a classic Watchmen trope. So she has her own version of it, but the Cyclops cuts her off. And her version of "do it," I did it 35 minutes ago, is "do what?" Yeah, I am about to kill you.
See, I thought it was
Yeah.
more like the Rorschach thing where he's just like, yeah, just do it. Like, kill me. Just do it. And he's like, okay, boop.
Yeah,
Smashes it.
I could see that too. I didn't even think of that. I mean, I guess that's another.
They're all wearing Rorschach masks too.
Yeah.
Another parallel. They're saying "do it." She says, "I'll kill you," but yeah, and hers kind of
Vaporizes them.
Similar along the lines of Veidt.
Not nearly a suffering enough death for Cyclops. They really suck deaths. I
Agreed,
wanted them
yeah.
to die way more harshly.
I think she just had no time for that.
Yeah.
But I think at
true,
the end of the
but-
day, they also they just didn't matter.
Yeah, no,
They were all
100%.
pawns. They were all this. So that she didn't even put the thought into like, let me give you a gruesome death. It was just like, no, see
Keaton
ya.
got turned into like jambalaya. It was hilarious. That
Yeah,
part I
Yeah,
loved.
he
Like,
gets
That was disgusting.
turned into just straight up goop.
beef
Yeah.
stew.
Just
Disgusting.
goop. Dr. Manhattan has a lot of quotes while he's in that cage. A lot of quotes that are just complete direct pulls from the graphic novel. He talks to his old lover Janie. Says,
Yep.
"Janie, what's up? It's too cold." That
That must
like,
have been fun for Lindelof to write.
That's
As a
like
huge
early on
Watchmen
in
fan.
That's how you know he's a big fan. right?
And there are a ton more. I'm not going to go through all of them, but they're all in the graphic novel. He's spewing out because the cage, he doesn't really have a concept of time anymore. He's kind of, his mind is basically taken from him at that point.
Yeah.
He's not Dr. Manhattan that we know.
Doesn't
or
even
he
really
knows.
recognize Lori. He's right in front of her.
He doesn't really realize anything that's going
Yeah.
on for the
he
most
said he
part.
can't be present.
Yeah. So he doesn't really know what is happening exactly, which explains kind of that scene as to why the Lori connection with Dr. Manhattan is not quite as maybe, I guess, like energetic as possible. There's not enough
Yeah.
life into that them seeing each other again because he doesn't really know.
Yeah, he's
where he
not
is.
really there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then this comes from a Reddit user. This on the Watchmen Reddit. User Sir Ehrlich von Lichten says John didn't want Angela to leave, much like he didn't want Janie to leave when he initially blew up.
Oh,
because
damn, that's
when
sad.
he was trapped in
And
the
intrinsic field, not subtractor, generator.
generator, yes. He says, like, "Don't leave," and he yells, like, "Don't leave," and she leaves. Where this time he says to Lori, like, or excuse me, he says to Angela's like, "Why didn't I leave
Yeah.
when you zap?" Because he zaps Lori and Wade and Veidt. She's like, "Why am I still here?" And says, like, "I don't want to die alone."
Sad.
He's done that already. He's already died alone once. I would have never picked up on that. Didn't think about that at all. So user on the Watchmen Reddit, which the Watchmen Reddit called everything basically just right away.
That's crazy.
Which is nuts. So it all pieced together, not all of them at once, but a bunch of them
bunch of
individually.
savants, yeah.
Yeah, put it together.
Smart guys.
So that's a great pull from the Watchmen Reddit. We see the owl ship, Archie, at the end.
Yeah,
That was
that's
nice.
awesome.
I was thinking, like, how are they going to get off Antarctica? And I guess that should have been pretty clear.
That was cool in the way they even referenced, like, oh, the police have been using the design and that's how they know how to fly it. Even thinking so far in advance, we saw the police using that ship early on in the
like-
series.
and we were like,
Episode
where's
1
more?
or 2, maybe? Yeah. And them thinking that far in advance to, like, put it at the end. Oh, great
Yep.
stuff.
Funny that Wade pukes when he's teleported. Lori doesn't puke anymore, obviously.
Yep.
Lori used to puke whenever she gets teleported, not used to that crazy phenomena, but he is not ready for it.
No.
He just keeps puking. Every
Yeah.
time he teleports, he just pukes.
I would definitely puke as well.
big
I'm a
time
puke
puke.
guy.
When they leave the theater at the end of the I keep saying movie. It just feels like we watched a movie.
Yeah.
When they leave the theater with Will Reeves and her kids, Angela behind her, The lights are out on the theater, and it says Dr. M.
With her shot.
Here's a moment where I got to say, hand up. This is my dumbest moment of the entire episode. I was looking at that really intently, and I was saying DRM. DRM. What could that stand for? What could that stand for? I didn't realize until I looked on Twitter and saw someone tweet it. I was like, oh, I'm such a fucking idiot. It was right there.
By the way, her kids, we fucked up last time.
Yeah.
We thought her kids were way more complex. We completely missed the part from one of the first episodes where she took her kids in from a partner who died.
In White Knight, yeah.
Irrelevant at this point now. But just saying we fucked up. This was an Easter egg that we actually didn't talk about last week that I had skipped over by accident, and it's a really cool one. There's an old blaxploitation film from 1977 called A-Bar, the First Black Superman. Lindelof mentioned it. Craig Mazin brought it up on the Watchmen podcast, the official Watchmen pod. And it's like, he's like, oh, like, what's this? And Lindelof's like, yeah, that's literally what this is. Like,
Bro,
A-Bar
how do they think of all this?
First Black Superman.
How do they think of all this? How do
don't
they
know.
figure out that there is this film from 1977 called A-Bar, the First Black Superman, and it lines up perfectly with Excal A-Bar, whatever. Like, how did they think of all
the
this?
more
How did they
you-
connect all the strings?
The more you listen to like the actual Watchmen podcast with Lindelof and Mazin, like their writers' room is incredibly impressive. Like just everything that goes
They
on
have
in
to
there
be,
is they are really really talented.
No, there is,
people.
and we'll get to it. It's a tease to keep you around. There's one element with this show that was not meticulously planned out until like a little before they wrote it and had it ready to go, and it's a pretty big one. So I'm gonna keep you on the edge of your seat.
All right, sweet.
So you stick around. And the last thing, Den of Geek got this one. I would have never seen this Easter egg. Lady True calls Dr. Manhattan Big Blue Cheese, and Dr. Savannah, also in the DC universe, calls Shazam Big Red Cheese.
I don't think they're
That's
comparable
like-
superheroes, by the way.
That's just a DC
Is that
reference.
just a coincidence?
It's just a flat out DC reference, I believe.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, Lindelof is a huge comic
All
book
right.
fan and a huge fan of comic book movies. I'm not shocked by anything that has even the slightest bit of reference to any other sort of
Shazam stinks.
don't
that
like
movie
Shazam.
really
Watchmen
it really
would,
burned me.
Watchmen would murder.
That movie,
Shazam,
by the
I
way,
was gonna say.
Shazam, my least favorite movie of 2019.
I know.
For real.
I know.
Shazam wasn't that bad.
I hated Shazam.
I didn't hate it
Funny.
either.
Remember when they're yelling at each other across the thing?
No,
I
I
can't
didn't
hear
like
you.
He definitely doesn't remember that.
That was funny.
I remember that.
Adam Brody.
That was a good trope. but
We left. You're like, let's go. I don't want to see the post-credit scene.
I hated it.
was like,
I don't know
you're
what it
like,
was
no.
about it. I just hated every second. It was agony for me.
All right, let's go beat by beat through this episode. Everything is revealed. I will little toot of my own horn, even though I did give myself like 3 options. I did say I thought the episode might start out with learning the connection between True and Reeves or True and Vite. We got the True Vite connection.
Yeah.
We see that Beyond creates Lady True by taking, again, his sperm,
His cum.
Her words.
and injecting it in herself, and then like skipping out through the night. No one knows. Vite has no idea that, because he's never been with a woman. He eventually says that. He's like, it's impossible.
Yes,
I'm giving myself
I've
to
never
a
given
woman.
myself up. Yes.
Yeah, no way.
They make artificial insemination look really easy there, by the
Yeah,
way.
they do.
It is a very
She
complicated
literally
process.
has like a fucking gun for it.
Yeah, just a little gum. Boop.
Yeah.
By the way, we kind of called this, right? Like we said, there's no way she could be this smart without some sort of connection to
Yeah.
Vite.
Yeah.
Somewhat.
And she had his company and all that.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
thought
So
there's a chance.
confirmed, Lady True is the daughter, inadvertent, like not on purpose, of Adrian Veidt. True visits Adrian Veidt in 2008. Also, by the way, we're going to help out with this. Got a timeline, a lot of timeline questions, so I will clear up just when things happen.
Perfect.
But in 2008, Lady True visits Adrian Veidt in Antarctica and reveals who she is. I'm your daughter. Again, like you said, doesn't believe it. Like, I've never given myself to a woman. States that Dr. Manhattan is on Europa. Big clue.
Yeah.
So that was a big clue at the time for Veidt, a little nugget for him to know. He kept that knowledge tight. Like, he's on Europa, and then in X amount of days, I have a probe that's going to pass by Europa, take a picture of him, prove to the world that he is not on Mars. She figured out that he's not on Mars. That's clue number 2. So he'd heard the date. He knew exactly when that was going to happen. We'll get back to that. Says that he will never call her daughter either. He's pissed.
Yeah.
He's not
Very
like
rude thing to say, by
which
the way.
I didn't expect. I didn't totally expect
Well,
it to not be.
He's rightfully pissed.
He's very narcissistic, like he says throughout the later part of the show. He doesn't want his accomplishments being overshadowed by anyone,
Yeah.
even if that would be his own daughter.
He said he achieved anything starting from
nothing.
From
yeah.
nothing.
Bootstraps Vite.
And says basically, you won't. I'm giving
Yeah.
you nothing. You're not going to get shit. And I will never call you daughter. Which at that point,
Big line.
you had
that
to
point,
know
you knew, yeah.
that,
The D.
that the D on Europa
Yeah.
would save me daughter. Of
course.
that makes complete sense. It then cuts to not present day, but present day for Vite.
Yeah.
On Europa, he has what looks like a cake of poop or an
It's
old
gross.
cake. Whatever
Mud
it was,
pie.
it was disgusting.
Sloppy mud pie.
Yeah, it was gross. And then you hear this big rocket or something, and he has the horseshoe, and you're like, wow, what the fuck's he going to do with it now? And then sure enough, he had dug out. He had dug. So that scraping was digging.
He dug out. He sharpened both edges of the horseshoe.
Yeah, it is. The much sharper, which I guess that's what he was doing. He was sharpening the horseshoe.
And digging his way out,
He dug out. The entire 8 years we learn on Europa, completely planned by him.
This was shocking.
That I had no idea.
So this is the only thing I was...
Stunning.
This is one thing I was a little confused by. Did he regret getting sent to Europa that quickly that he was like, okay, now I'm going to plan out my entire next 8-year plan based on the fact of me getting out of here, busting out, right?
I don't know if...
That one I don't know.
I was going to say, I don't know if he was like that tired of Europa. I think he was almost...
But do you remember he says this, right? And this is what, 2008, when his daughter says, like, I have a probe going by in 5 years or whatever. And he has to spend the next, 8 or so stuck on this planet. And he says, like, this sounds like paradise, this world we've created, Dr. Manhattan. And does he immediately, the second he's there, say, I don't want to be here anymore?
I don't know if it's immediate, but he definitely probably has regrets pretty early on.
Because he would need to plan that out very quick. Like it's right near when he arrived.
Because he talks to the game warden and says, you were a worthy, all I wanted was a worthy adversary because I had so much time to kill.
And he was clone number 1.
Yes. So maybe he wasn't even that much, oh my God, this is brutal, and more so like, I just need this. This is what I want to do for the next 8 years.
Adventure,
Yeah, it was.
He was very much starting something from nothing with all of that.
And he has an app.
Building his own astronaut suit, catapulting things into this, he was doing something from nothing the whole time.
With the exception of being saved, which is something I wouldn't think he would want.
He definitely knew he had that out too.
Yes.
Because he went there with the knowledge of I can find my way out of this. Again, like you said, tells the game warden basically what happened here, and the game warden's like, was I a worthy adversary? And he says,
because he says, no. Why did you make me wear the mask?
Yes.
And at that point, you're like, what?
Yeah,
What's happening right now?
Masks make people cruel. We'll get to masks. Masks, big stuff from Damon Lindelof talking about what masks mean and what he was going with here. But then he says, no, you were not an unworthy adversary. The guy looks really bummed, but he put on a hell of a show. That goes back to the wink. We saw the wink from one of the clones at one point, and you're like, what does the wink mean? And he wrote that fucking speech.
Right after he rips ass.
He rewrote that speech. And we have some pretty interesting things on the speech and why Adrian Veidt, why he cried and all that. They kind of go into it, but it's not totally important to the main part of the story right here. So then we find out that he officially put Save Me Daughter on Europa, and he goes into the ship. They say, put your hands on your hips.
This
frozen
was crazy,
in gold,
man.
And he is the fucking statue.
Crazy.
It started to make sense. Right? It was a question we got.
Yeah.
Well, someone said it wasn't even a question as much as we got a statement. Someone's like, I think that's him.
Wow.
Because he
Shout
said
out
he was
to that
older.
person.
Remember, why'd you make him so fucking old? I think Lori says to True, right?
And I think in that moment, was like, nah, there's no way.
There's no way.
There's no way he's in the statue.
It just seemed crazy, but he was basically frozen in carbonite.
It's like Han Solo and carbonite.
He even says, Lindelof says that. He's like, yeah, that's our frozen
really?
carbonite moment.
Yeah, I mean, he's a nerd.
So here's what I was a little confused about. He freezes himself while he's in the ship. Does that ship then land on Earth?
That's the thing coming down. That's the Clark moment. Yeah.
They don't say it directly, but yes. So this goes back to the thing with Lady
I thought
True.
it could have been, yeah.
So Lady True knew when that thing was going to land because she sent that thing up.
Yeah.
So she knew it was going to land. That's why she goes to that farm. And it's been kind of mentioned, I believe, in some spots. I don't know if I heard in the pod or if I read it, but it's been kind of insinuated by Lindelof. I think I read it. Hollywood Reporter, he did an interview where he's like, she didn't have that land. It probably got knocked off course. She didn't know exactly where it was going to land because it was hurling back to Earth.
Yeah.
And that's why she has to buy it in that certain amount of time because when that thing lands, that family ain't giving that up.
True.
They're not giving up that land. So that's why the timing was exact. And she's like, I'm going to kill this fucking clone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kill
This
this
is
little
your
baby
kid.
here.
I'm going to kill this fucking kid if you don't give me this land right now. And she gets the land, and now she has the property of Adrian Veidt.
So she just kept him in statue form for who knows how long.
As a garden ornament, basically.
Which I will say, I'm going to read the timeline in a bit. We don't really know when he landed.
Okay.
And when he took off, we don't know when he landed. We don't know how long he's been there.
8 years, right?
No, we don't know when he landed.
When he landed on Earth,
We don't know how long the
and
journey
she
took.
says to him, she wants him to see that she can achieve nothing. or
wanted
achieve
to-
something
something
starting from
from
nothing.
And she wanted her mom and dad to both be there for her big moment of triumph.
So she tells him that. He's like, "You cloned your mother."
He knows that immediately. He's like, takes one look. He's like, "You cloned,"
Which is funny because
brother."
it was a good exchange because she mentions to Beyond, she's like, "I have to tell you something." He may say something. She's like, "I'm your mom."
Yep.
Yeah.
And he immediately says, she's like, "I told you he might say something."
She takes it well.
Very well, all things considered.
Yeah, she does. Well, she's been through. I mean, she's been living through the Vietnam War and shit.
Once I saw her actual mom, she had the big ass glasses. I'm like, that's Beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
Cyclops and 7th Cavalry will move to them. This is kind of where it shifts to next. Happening in real time, this is as Dr. Manhattan is saving Angela. Angela's doing her assault on Cyclops and 7th Cavalry. They're in the mall, the J.C. Penney.
Over the radio, you can hear
Big
it all happening.
Cyclops eye, yeah. Laurie is sitting there. And then Dr. Manhattan gets zapped into the room. So this continues from the end of last episode. Looking Glass, as you predicted, I think you said it as well, has been there the whole time. Wade Tillman has been hiding in the Rorschach mask. So the Rorschach parallel in the series now has the Rorschach mask
Good
on.
stuff.
Good job.
He didn't do the thing, though. I was kind of bummed out. I
Yeah,
wanted him to
the
shoot.
Save Me No.
Which I guess that might have been too on the nose. I don't know. But
Yeah.
if I ever meet Damon Lindelof, I'm going to say that. I'd be like, I wish you would have had him shoot a 7th Cavalry member or try to save one of them, and he just says no. That'd have been so fucking cool.
Would have been cool.
That was really funny when Laurie goes, "Mirror guy?" And he's like, "It's Looking
Yeah.
Glass."
yeah. He's like, stop fucking calling me that.
Yeah.
So he's there, says he'll save Laurie. Senator Keene, again, another classic Watchmen trope, as Lindelof says, does the big bad guy plan reveal.
love that so
which he made
much.
fun of earlier on. He said he wasn't going to do it. He's
Yeah.
like, he's like this, forget what he says exactly. He says something about like being too convoluted
Yeah.
or so. Yeah. Anyway, he does get to make his big
Ego takes over. He had to do it.
his big villain
Ego.
speech. Yeah, exactly. They discovered Dr. Manhattan on the White Knight.
Yep.
Because Dr. Manhattan, I think we got this wrong. We thought that he killed the 7th Cavalry member.
did.
didn't.
Teleported him.
He zapped him to Gila Flats, New Mexico. Which is
What an
where-
idiot.
It's a
Yeah.
reflex,
Why would
I
you?
get it.
Why would
but
you send him to that
Well,
place?
he's
though?
not as aware. He's a reflex.
Oh yeah.
Remember, because Dr. Manhattan, when he did that, he was Cal Jelani or Cal Abar. He doesn't have really the control of his powers. It's a reflex, and he zapped him to the one thing I guess he knew or remembered, Gila Flats, New Mexico, where he's from. So at that point, this was not part of the plan of Cyclops.
What a shitty mistake.
It was not part of their plan at all. And we'll clear up a little more on Cyclops and Judd Crawford and all that at the end here. We're going to do like a bit of a wrap-up from what the extra stuff Lindelof said. But because he did that, that's when Senator Keene really enacts his big plan of getting to the White House and taking over Dr. Manhattan's power, because now he realizes he's here.
Yep.
He's not just on Earth. He is in Tulsa. So that's how they figured it out, which I thought was a good explanation, because eventually
Great, yeah.
we needed to know.
Yeah.
You need to know why they knew. We know why Lady True knows, but for him, like, because Lady True Lady True had technology.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what kind of
she checked
helped
it, like
her.
his radiological isotope or whatever.
Something she
In
had
this
in
universe, she's clearly like maybe the smartest person
Yeah.
alive,
Yes.
other than Vite
She's the
himself.
Vite, yeah.
Yes.
So that like pings her. And she knows it's there, and now the 7th Cavalry and Cyclops know because of the fact that he accidentally zapped one of their members to New Mexico, and the guy's standing right behind him. Angela arrives, warns Keene, like, no, this is not going to go the way you think it's going to go. There's going to be bad.
big time Mark Hamill
you're a
vibes
puppet
right
on
there.
some strings.
Yeah, big Luke Skywalker vibes from Last Jedi. Notes, like, look at this, all this true tech. So that we figured out. The true tech, it was stolen on purpose. She allowed them to steal
take it,
She
yep.
knew they were
because she
taking
knew
it.
exactly what was going to happen. She had this plan set up. She needed help to get it in motion. He doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
He doesn't care at all. She drops the gun. She even does the gun drop. Near the gun drop, then
Yeah.
you think there's going to be some rational thinking. He doesn't care, like you said, narcissist. He's too encapsulated in his own fucking head.
He's already wearing
his
the
plans.
underwear.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
once you take the
panties.
pants off,
He's like,
you
Take the
put-
high-waisted panties on,
You
man.
can't
It's
pull
too
the
late.
pants
He's
back
like,
up.
either this is working or I'm dying.
And he says a real mean line, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait for this motherfucker to die.
Yeah.
Wait, what does he say again?
I don't want to say it over here, but
he-
it's
Oh,
very,
yeah.
it's very
Racial-
bad.
Oh, he's a
It's very
racist. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
He is a racist. Yeah, it's a mean fucking line. And that's actually when you know he's going to die. Right?
Yeah, once he
That's
said that, I'm like, this fucker's dead.
Yeah.
Senator Keene activates the device, and then all of a sudden we're back with Lady True, because the whole entire inside of that mall area, all the setup, everything is zapped because of that True Tech. Anything within the parameter of that the True Tech is zapped to the center of the town, which is where the Manhattan booth is, which is where the ride
The clock is sitting right. The Millennium Clock.
The Millennium Clock, like the hovering ball. We actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. Millennium Clock Tower ball has hovered over. You know, Vite had made that speech we said earlier. He re-quoted the Israelites thing. So now they're there waiting. The 7th Cavalry Cyclops zapped right there, like I said, where the Dr. Manhattan booth is, where the Tulsa Massacre went, all that happened. We saw from the first episode.
What a great way to bring it all together.
Yeah, it's all
there.
culminating in the same spot.
Everyone comes together.
Yeah.
They have those big-ass magnets and take all their guns away.
They do.
Yeah.
And we just watched 6 Underground.
6 Underground.
They did
a
it
lot of
first.
magnets in it.
Sorry,
Oh,
sorry,
really?
sorry, Lindelof.
I haven't
6
watched
Underground
that yet.
beat you to it.
Yes.
Is that so bad it's good?
No.
No.
Oh, damn.
No, it's. I have a headache still from watching 6 Underground. Senator Keene is revealed to have exploded, like you mentioned, in big bloody goop. And then Lori like crushes his heart. His heart was still beating.
Yeah,
or
just like
something.
comes out and like hits her
gross.
foot. She's
Oh,
like,
it's
ugh.
she's like, what the fuck?
Takes it away.
Key moment though. They are now standing in the blood, and so is Dr.
Important,
Manhattan.
yeah.
A little bit of a tease
Dripped into
there.
his cage.
Yeah,
So
they give
gross.
you a
Ugh.
hint. Lady True does her speech we mentioned before. She does the do what, the parallel to the do it speech from Adrian Veidt, and just kills all of them. Like you said, pretty unceremonious, very quick, just gets them out of the way.
Zaps.
As that happened, Dr. Manhattan uses the blood that he's now kneeling in.
Touching in it,
To
yeah.
touch it, and it zaps, I guess the transitive property there, fucking zaps
All 3
Lori,
of them.
Veidt,
Looking
and Wade
Glass.
Tillman.
Yep.
They're now in Antarctica, back in Veidt's lair. Lori returns, hasn't been there, I would imagine, since 1985.
Yeah.
Since 11/2.
Karnak, right?
Wade
Yeah.
Tillman sees the squid stuff for himself. He's shocked. He's like, what the fuck?
He's so pissed off.
I was terrified we were going to have a Peter Quill moment from him.
I thought
where
he was about to
pulls the
kill
glove
Veidt,
off.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I
he's
thought he was going to maybe beg Veidt. I thought he was going to... We were going to have that moment like Rorschach has, too, where he kills
Yeah.
Rorschach, which we kind of do at the end, but it goes
Sort of.
differently.
Yeah.
So he sees the tanks. He's like, what the his pure shock. I'm like, are you shitting me? This really was you? Because he still hasn't totally believed it, I think. Like, he learned the truth.
In the back of his mind, he's still
Yeah.
like, come
Yeah.
on, no
Not
way.
entirely sure, yep.
Yeah, so he's not totally sure what's happening. And now to the final part in terms of the big drama, and that is Adrian Veidt saves the world yet again.
How's this for a
Twice.
rerun?
Yeah, he
Great
says,
line.
how's this for the rerun? As Dr. Manhattan, quote unquote, dies. I put dies in quotes because there could be a second season.
It's Dr. Manhattan.
And Dr. Manhattan dies and comes back multiple times. He literally says it in the graphic novel.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I learned to do is put myself back together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he claims he's going to die.
For now, he's dead.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, for now, he's dead. He has a touching moment with Angela. It mentions, like, I'm here, I'm always in the present. I forget the exact
Every
quote,
moment
but
we had,
he turns back to
experiencing
looking
it
like
once.
Cal.
Yeah, that was cool. Seeing all of his blue stripped
Yeah.
away.
When,
and then just regular
when he
self.
gets killed, he's Cal.
Yep.
And you see a bunch of flashbacks. She gets blown back when he gets zapped and vaporized in a very similar manner to when she got blown back when her parents died.
Oh, I was thinking
Vietnam.
It's just the way that anyone from Watchmen gets blown back. It's the comedian
True.
through the window
Yep.
of
Yeah.
Slow-mo
Oh my
back
God.
Yeah.
in something. Yep.
But it was similar to how she got blown back in Vietnam as well. Many
It was
explosions.
probably closer to that one.
in her life. Adrian Veidt decides, and we have a question with this, so we'll get to the idea of the squid rain and it killing people and her and piercing through cars, but not plastic. We'll get to that. It's a question. But he says, I can freeze the squids. I made the squids so they evaporate, basically.
They disintegrate a little bit after impact.
Yeah, but I'll make them ice, and it'll be like firing a Gatling gun.
From the heavens. Cool
which
line,
is
too.
so
Very
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
Kind of reminded me of Breaking Bad at that moment. The Gatling gun at the end,
Yeah,
killing all
yeah.
the Nazis. It was like,
Little
oh,
M60
fuck.
shooting them all
Here we
up.
go. Yeah, let's
He
do it.
notes her hubris, clouds her. She's just so fucking full of herself. She
Anyone
has-
that wants to be a god should be stopped from being a god at any cost.
Yeah, even though he's a bad guy, he still has. He's
got a brain.
His
He's smart.
intentions are there to help humanity. He does it in the very wrongest way.
I think he doesn't really like Dr. Manhattan, right? But I think the one
Yeah.
thing he likes about John Osterman is he never wanted what he got.
Totally.
Like, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. He says, "I'll show her a goddamn rerun," as you said.
Great line.
He sends the squids in a much different way. He also has something. He says something in Latin, and
Yeah.
it's essentially him saying,
I'm a narcissist.
because Laurie mentions how. Like, he's a narcissist, she's a narcissist, he says, takes one to know one. So he admits, I'm a fucking narcissist. I know who I am.
Yeah.
I got my action figures in my desk. Like, I know exactly who I
He was
am.
wearing his Ozymandias
Ozymandias
outfit when he
Such a
came
great
back,
costume.
and he wanted to wear it to
What's
the
wrong with what I'm
celebration.
wearing?
Yep. User Driller2X, this is from the Watchmen Reddit, brings something interesting up about the squid rain. Beyond says at one point in the show, anything short of a direct nuclear blast would fail to destroy the device because the squid rain ends up just destroying it. It breaks the glass of the Millennium Clock Tower big orb.
Yeah.
But I think it's more so the power shuts off and then it falls down. Like, it doesn't just explode. Like, it falls
Yeah.
down because it can no longer levitate. So I think the power is destroyed more than anything. But She says that anything short of that would fail to destroy it. But Veidt says fear is more powerful than any atomic device. And in this case, fear in Watchmen is the squids.
Is the squids.
Maybe a bit of a leap, but I like that explanation.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Like that makes, maybe it's wrong, makes complete sense though.
Yeah, and I mean, they always say the Millennium Clock is like kind of, it's part of the whole structure. Like, I understand, like, that my understanding of that quote anyway was just like this whole structure, it would be impossible to destroy anything short of a nuclear blast, but the orb was like its own separate thing.
And I think once the
detaches.
once the squid stuff hits the power cords and the power shuts off, it just fails and falls.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll get into that. Angela runs away to the theater. She uses like a plastic covering to get out of there. Some people die, some don't. Red Scare, is that his name?
Yeah, I was confused by how people were dying and how they weren't, because the first squid we see goes directly
pierces
through
her
Lady
hand.
True's hand.
It's a very important shot because you see it framed next to the church, and you see it's a very Jesus moment.
It
where you
is,
see the hole
yes.
through the
As
hand.
she's about to die, the cross falls from the fake church that.
But then we see
doesn't
Red
comprehend.
Scare like basically reacting to the squids like they
It's
were a
hail.
light drizzle.
Say
Yeah.
it. We'll get to the squid.
Okay.
Here's
It depends on the
question.
squid.
But it goes through her, pierces her hand. She got a hole in her hand, and then the orb shuts off, falls, and kills her.
She goes, motherfucker, and just explodes.
in Vietnamese,
Yeah,
right?
yep, in
Yeah, she does it in Vietnamese. Yeah. So Lady True crushed by the clock. This user from Reddit, this is a fucking awesome one. User 10-Witch says Lady True is the god crushed by the brick in Lori's original joke.
Oh,
So when Lori makes that joke, she sets it up on a girl throwing a brick, and she goes, I fucked it up. Here's a different joke. She tells the whole joke, which is essentially sounds like she's explaining her and her, Dan Dryberg, Dr. Manhattan, Veidt, and she explains the joke about talking to God. And at one point, God gets crushed by a brick he doesn't see coming, and it comes from this girl who was from a different joke. So he never saw the girl. And so this user says God has judged God, and that's Lady True judging Dr. Manhattan.
Yep.
And it ends up she doesn't see what happens, whether it be Angela's arrival, because Lady True is surprised that Angela's there.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah.
She says, Agent A-Bar.
Didn't
I
expect you to see
him.
there. Yep.
Yeah, so it's things that happen, like, is Angela a little girl? Is Lady True the god who gets crushed? It does seem as though there was foreshadowing with that joke, which is just fucking...
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
That's one of those ones I read on Reddit last night. I was like, are you shitting me? Are you kidding me? I would have never gotten that one. So again, Angela runs away. Lori and Wade arrest Adrian Veidt on Antarctica. He's like, "What?" He's like, "Are you shitting me? After all these years, you're now
Growing
going
conscious
to
about
arrest
this,
me."
yeah.
And she says, "I've changed as a person," and she has. I've seen some people mention like now she arrests him, but she has changed. She is not Silk Spectre like she was on 11-2.
No.
She, if anything, is closer to the comedian, and she's not even for vigilantes anymore. She is
It's like nihilist.
part of the
Very
FBI.
anti, yeah.
She
By the way,
does.
she would also be in big time trouble for this, not telling anyone.
She
about
would
what
definitely
happened.
be in trouble. Even when she was arresting him, I was sort of like, you can't let that guy go. I don't know. Maybe it makes me a bad person. He saved humanity twice. He really did.
He did.
He did save humanity. He also did a genocide.
The second time he
Yeah.
saved humanity.
The second time was not as bad as the first time. Yeah, there were definitely some casualties.
But yeah,
Not
big
nearly as
genocide.
bad.
There's like, what, a 5-block radius?
you did a
He
genocide.
figured out how to do it.
If anything, he's on like he's 1/100th of the way to being at like zeroed out.
Yeah.
Listen, there's clear improvement in his ways to save
He is.
humanity.
He's
Yes.
definitely he's
Next
getting
time,
better, yeah.
maybe no
Oh, I
casualties.
can
we don't
kill
know.
the bad guy. And
I
he even
also
says,
feel like I
save
just-
the people you like.
His
And,
whole journey. I was just like, man, I was with him that whole time.
And something tells me no matter what the trial case would be for Adrian Veidt, he would somehow get away with it.
Yeah,
Probably.
maybe.
Freed.
Yeah.
He's a
well,
super
we
genius.
maybe a little something in old PDpedia that talks about
Ooh, we'll talk.
if exactly that's going to play out. Wade Tillman gets his own revenge. He beats Adrian Veidt. It's like, that guy fucking talks
That guy
too much.
talks
Yeah.
too much.
It's a great way to end of all the things that Adrian Veidt says. Like we said, he plays the greatest hits. He repeats things over and over again.
And the music was perfect. They were really like building
And
up.
they cut it off.
Yeah, they cut off as soon
You
as he gets
dare
hit.
try
That
to
was good
arrest
stuff.
me, and then just clocks him.
They're going to go into the owl ship, Archie, and they're going to fly back to civilization. And then finally, Will Reeves and Angela wraps up the story. Will Reeves and Angela sitting together. Will says that Manhattan contacted him and put everything in motion.
The whole show.
Obviously a paradox. What came first, chicken or the egg? Both at the same time. So he knew this was going to happen, but it comes down to him telling Will Reeves, who then goes to Lady True, who helps exact revenge for himself on Cyclops, who's terrorized him for years. And this is, I guess, the way for Dr. Manhattan. He sees this as the way it happens. He puts that in motion, and this happens because of Dr. Manhattan, not because of everyone else.
Yeah. I thought the entire scene in the theater, the conversation between Angela and her grandfather, phenomenal. The music behind it was perfect. And again, it's like poetry, it rhymes. Beginning and ending the show in that theater in Tulsa. Brilliant.
Says you can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs.
Yep.
Which, by the way, Succession also said the same exact thing. Except
Sort
a
of.
little different.
You can't make a Tomlet without
Tom-
breaking
a few
Greg's.
Gregs. Yeah,
Tom
yeah.
says, yeah, you can't make that without breaking a few Gregs. So
Forgot about
HBO
that.
just has this in every show now, which I love.
It's an HBO thing.
So she's like, what the fuck does that mean? And he's like, I don't know. He used to just say
He's
that.
like, yeah,
When
you're
the
gonna-
time is right.
When the time is right, you'll
Yeah,
understand it. Yeah. The time's not right.
And he has a big thing, which I'm now going to go to a second page here. He says, you can't heal under a mask, Angela.
Mm-hmm.
And masks have been such a big theme about putting masks on to hide anger and trauma.
And that's something like Lindelof kind of talks about in the podcast is like every origin story, right? It usually ends with the hero putting on the mask for the first time. And this
he talked
ends
about Iron Man and
Batman.
Batman.
Iron Man, all those. And this one ends with him taking off the mask for essentially for good.
Yep.
He says he still has to. He says obviously with Dr. Manhattan, he still has to go through the motions. He has to experience emotion. Like he knows these things happen. He's in that time period, but he has to still go through everything. That's why he doesn't realize or doesn't feel when he falls in. He knows when he falls in love with Angela, but he doesn't feel that until he actually experiences it. When we see him experience it, again, this is why he goes through all the motions. Why he went to Europa, even though he could probably see that Europa didn't work out for him. That's why he still goes. If asked to fix something, Lindelof said he would say, "I didn't do it, not I can't do it," which I think is a good little nugget and a reminder of, again, he didn't do it. It's not that he would never say I can't do it. It's that I didn't do it. Like, that's just not what happened. They mentioned the paradox in the podcast. They talk about it's all about the paradox. It was the most complicated discussion of the show, obviously, because again, it goes back to that quote: "What came first, the chicken or the egg?" Both at the same exact time, which is impossible to comprehend.
Yep.
But that's kind of the point.
I don't even. It hurts my brain trying to think.
It's very Watchmen, though.
It says the show's a departure from the novel in a big way, showing that our purpose is to create life where it was a bit more cynical.
Of course,
With
because
the
Alan
graphic
Moore,
novel.
as we
And
said,
it is. And at the end, you see
cynical dickhead.
Rorschach wants to arrest Veidt, wants to
can't.
take Veidt down in the movie and the graphic novel, but he can't.
Yeah.
Where this one, he does.
Yeah.
It's different. It's a departure, is what they say, from that.
Different world.
Legacy was a big thing with the series. They mentioned that. Their trauma is your trauma. John Osterman, also they know, is unimaginative. And Veidt says he has no imagination. And a good example of that is that when Crookshanks and what's the other?
Phillips.
Crookshanks and
Phillips, yep.
When they see John Osterman as a young kid in the big manor, when they say make something beautiful, he doesn't have enough imagination to make anything but them.
Yep.
He
Yeah.
just makes them. He has no imagination. It was kind of a fun callback there. But in terms of the masks, Veidt says they make men cruel. Reeves says that he eventually realized that it wasn't anger that had him put the mask on, but it was out of fear and hurt and suffering, which that's where you kind of see Angela break down really strongly for the first time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because we mentioned, she's kind of fucking stone cold. As a
Totally
kid,
strong,
she felt
yeah.
nothing. Felt nothing at all.
That guy gets executed in the street, and she's like, can I listen?
She's like, okay, cool, that's
Let
great.
me listen to
Right?
it?
After her parents' death, she feels nothing, and that's where she starts to break down because he says you can't heal under a mask. Wounds need air, as we mentioned. And she had a mask on out of fear and hurt and not exactly anger like she had thought, like her grandfather had thought. Other things that Lindelof says, anger is camouflage for fear and sadness. Also says that Angela's days of wearing a mask are over. And the example there is that she hasn't been Lady Knight for a while now.
Sister Knight.
Since episode 4 or something, yeah.
She's just been fighting as Angela Abar. She had a cool zip up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool,
but,
like quarter zip. But I don't think
that
that's
counts.
Cool cargo
I think
pants,
I think your full Sister Knight with just a quarter zip. And as you mentioned, KenJac, plenty of heroes have the same exact thing
Yeah,
they go through.
exactly.
Interesting stuff there. So that was beat for beat the whole episode.
Yeah.
Nutso.
Well, except for the ending.
The
where she
ending
gets
ending.
The egg.
Well, we'll talk about the egg here in
All
a
right.
second. But I did want to go back to one thing that he mentioned on his pod. Lindelof mentioned the frozen Adrian Veidt. He said it's the second time he's ever done this. He took that idea from Saw 2.
Oh, what? Wait.
He said that
Lindelof did Saw
Donnie,
2?
No, that he watched Saw
Oh.
2 one time, and something happened with Donnie Wahlberg's character. I don't even remember this.
I don't remember
where
this at
the
all.
entire movie. Spoiler alert for Saw 2, which I think that's exactly what Lindelof. No, Lindelof says spoiler alert for Lost because he did this
Yeah.
in Lost, and I don't remember what he was talking about with Lost, so I won't even spoil it for you. But he said he did this in Lost as well. That Donnie Wahlberg in Saw 2, the entire movie had his kid suffocating and dying in this box next to him. And you don't know it's there the whole time until the end. And he said that's essentially what he did with the statue. You don't know Veidt is there the entire time.
Oh,
Was
wait.
it Ben Linus with his kid?
I was
in
thinking
Lost?
it was when those two the lovers were bit by the spiders and buried alive.
Maybe.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
He references
I
this
haven't watched
box.
Lost in so
this
many years.
fucking box that. Oh, okay. You're talking about Lost. I don't
Yeah.
remember Lost
Oh,
at
yeah.
all. It kind of went over my head. But Saw, he had this box he saw in Saw when he saw the movie one time, and he's now used it in Lost and
Lindelof fucking
Saw 2,
loves
great
Saw
movie.
2.
Watchmen. Just
Shout out
nuts.
Wahlburgers.
We'll do some audience questions here, then we'll wrap it up. Everyone asked this. You asked this. How did the squid rain bring down the Millennium Clock?
Yeah.
I think when you watch it again, and I think there's some leaps you got to take with this, and that's fine if you don't like it. Totally cool, understandable. It pierces her hand, big hole in her hand. I would assume that was a sharp one because you see them hitting the cop car, for example. Some break the glass of like the top lights, some don't, some pierce it, some dent it, and I think the squids were just different shapes as they hit Earth.
Maybe it
right?
depends the way they came down. If the squids have those pointy tops to their heads.
right.
I think, yeah.
Some can be blunt, some can be sharp. That's totally fine.
I
You
was
can
just
suspend your
confused
reality.
as to whether or not there was an explanation.
Yeah, so the suspending of disbelief for me, again, I didn't think that the orb was crushed. It's more just the glass broke. The power is what had the orb fall.
Yeah.
Because that's what's keeping it up in the air. Once that power source is cut off, it falls.
Again, if you can't suspend disbelief on that, one thing that's kind of crazy, we had a big blue dick guy in this episode.
We always
Great
saw the
blue
big
dick shot.
dick. Yeah.
Great blue dick shot.
did,
I
we
wonder,
did.
the funny thing with that, too, is someone had to apply that because you can't apply that
Definitely.
makeup yourself. That's very complicated.
This, yeah.
I think it was a prosthetic dick.
I gotta
It had
blur
to
that
be.
shit out now
It
in
had
this
to be.
video.
I don't
too.
know. Abdul Mateen, maybe you just got a
I
massive
think-
hog.
I
Good
think
for you,
fake
dude.
dick.
Yeah, so I don't know if you don't want to suspend disbelief on that. Like I get it because it doesn't pierce the plastic that she's holding, and it pierces Lady True's hand.
That was like a military grade like cargo box. Like those usually have metal plating and all that shit too. So
But
that's
the
not a
squids
huge
did
deal.
look different when they hit. If you watch the cop car part, they do look different when they hit. And some people get the safety, some don't. At MDex 2020 said, obvious question, did she walk on water? So there we go. The end of the episode, the last scene. She remembers because Will Reeves says something too, his only real complaint about Dr. Manhattan is he didn't really do anything with his powers. And Angela sees an unbroken egg. She remembers that she smashed the egg, but there's one unbroken.
And he says, "Watch the eggs."
Yep, flashes back to the eggs. When he makes an egg and she talks about, I guess I could transfer my powers in here and someone can eat it and have my powers. I guess I can do that. Well, without their consent, he says he wouldn't do that. There have been theories that maybe he transferred his powers to the kids. That didn't happen, at least it appears not. And he also says, I need you to see me in this pool, standing on this pool. So she thinks about the fact that she said, if I eat this egg that you made, I could walk on water. He says, in theory, yes. So at the end, she cracks the egg, which, kind of a crazy way to crack the egg. Over nothing?
When thumbs into it.
Yeah.
Crack it over
It's
a cup or
pretty
something.
precious
Yeah,
egg,
this has
yeah.
got like
You got
atomic
a big fuck up.
memory in it. Yeah.
So she cracks it, eats it raw.
Don't do that, kids.
Lindelof said, don't do that. Obviously, a reminder. Salmonella
Salmonella's a big
potential.
thing.
I mean, Rocky did it, though.
Yeah, Rocky did
Yeah,
a lot.
Rocky did it. You're fine.
Rocky Balboa did it.
You're fine.
Yeah.
Do it, kids.
Yeah, do it.
Do it.
This video, not made for kids. So she puts her foot on water. And it's not, look, if you don't like ambiguous endings, you're going to be pissed off. I loved it. I think if I would have seen her walk on water, I'd have been pretty furious. I'd been like, well, that defeats the purpose.
I don't know if it was. I guess it was ambiguous, but there was no doubt in my mind that she was walking on water. At least for me.
So if this was the comedian that did this, I'd be like, oh, he's fucking with her, whatever. This is Dr. Manhattan. He doesn't really have that sort of sense of humor
Yeah.
or whatever you would want to call it, where he wouldn't make such a big point to say, watch the eggs. You need to see me walk on water. And like bring back all these callbacks to her memory without her absorbing the powers from that egg.
it just doesn't make. I thought maybe
make no
they're doing a
sense.
Watchmen thing where she's gonna like step and immediately just fall into the water, and that's gonna be the end of the series. But
Well,
they didn't do that, and I think
He
she
references
walks.
Inception. He said he always loved the ending of Inception.
Yeah.
Again, listen to the podcast in full, but he said he went to the bathroom after Inception and he had two people arguing in the bathroom, like at the stall. He's like, guy almost turned around, just peed on his friend. He's like, I hated the
That's
ending.
the
I
worst
liked the
ending of all time.
He gets his question with leftovers as well. I won't spoil leftovers, but there's an ambiguous ending with leftovers. And he gets the question. He's like, that's not really the point. He goes, He goes, I can answer it in my way. But he goes, but I made it so anyone can answer it. And for this one, he says, it's not if she can walk on water. He goes, the question here is, what would she do if she could walk on water? If she does walk on water, what would she do with those powers?
Yeah.
And maybe that's the thought process with Dr. Manhattan as well. Like, he can't do anything. What will someone else do with those powers? And he sees that his powers are going to go in the hands of the wrong people. And he's obviously in hopes that it will go in the hands of the right person.
And Angela never wanted to be a god, so that was
Yeah.
another thing where she didn't want to be a god. She gets the god powers.
Exactly.
At Colonel G _, said, oh, by the way, so I think she does walk on water.
I think she does.
I think she does too, but I think that kind of disagrees with the motif of anyone that wants the god shouldn't become one because she eats the egg. Like, you're trying to become a
Yeah,
god
I
if you eat
guess.
the egg.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe she thinks.
I took it as like her accepting her fate almost.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, I think if maybe there was a way she could eat it and somehow bring Cal back to life, maybe sure.
Yeah.
That would be a kind of an out for that, but I don't think that she would want to become a god.
Again, glad it's ambiguous there.
Yeah, me too.
Glad it was a nice, and that's the thing too. It's not going to break my brain, but it's a good thought.
yeah.
Now, what would she do?
Yeah.
What would she do with those powers? At Colonel G _ says, was Dr. Manhattan the real enemy all along? I think that's an interesting thought. I don't think he's the enemy as much as though I think he realized himself, my power is going to be in the hands of the wrong people. And the fact that his power is now transferred into an egg, he does make that egg, which it's rare for him to do anything that reactionary. He doesn't do that.
Yeah.
But he puts his power in the egg and he leaves it up to, I guess, humanity, right? The fate of the world is in your hands now, which is essentially what happens with her. And he does say that to her at another point in a flashback in the previous episode. I guess he probably realizes, and I think he knows that he can't do anything. He knows he's that puppet who can see the strings.
Yeah, I think it's that, exactly. He's the puppet who can see the strings. He's not the villain. He's just, he exists.
He's not the bad guy, but I do think they make a lot of questions about the whole God question, right? Where it's
of
like,
course.
so Will Reeves says at the end, like, Cal was he was a great guy. I think like with his powers, he probably could have done more. And they make that question. This is something you see in not even just stuff like this, but even like Bruce Almighty. Like he couldn't do everything with the God power he had, and that's a question.
Or
like,
Evan Almighty.
Yes, sir. Even Evan Almighty.
Yeah, even Evan. Yeah.
Like you have that question: if you were a god, what would you do with the powers you had? And no matter what you do, it would never be enough.
Is Evan where he makes the arc?
That's where he makes the arc.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah.
Jesus.
I think that's a good answer. At Kurt S. Perkins says, how long was Golden Vite on display? I like Golden Vite on display. I don't know, but I'm going to read you the timeline quick. 11/2/1985, Squid dropped. 1987, Angela's parents are killed. She becomes an orphan. 92, Redford wins the election. 2007, Vite's final public appearance. 2008, Lady True confronts Adrian Vite. 2009, Dr. Manhattan meets Angela. Also in 2009, Manhattan visits Vite, sends him to Europa. So he goes to Europa, Manhattan becomes a human being, basically, or in disguise. In 2012, Vite is declared missing. 2013, he spells out Save Me Daughter. So 2013 is when he spells out Save Me Daughter with...
in 2008, how long did she say that the probe was going to take to get to Europa?
I forget the exact date.
Because that's one thing I was like, shit, did the timeline work out on that? I mean, I'm assuming it does because it's
probably
Lindelof,
does,
but-
yeah.
I got to assume. We'll try to throw the caption up there at the bottom. Trial concludes for Vite in 2015. He's thrown in jail. White Knight happens in 2016. 2017, Sure Industries acquires Vite Enterprises, and the ship lands on Europa. He's been in jail for 2 years. 2018, Judd Crawford becomes chief of police. 2018, again, Lady True breaks around on the clock. And then 2019, the events of the show.
Wow.
So there's your timeline. It all works out. It's nuts.
Nuts.
Nuts to
great.
test together.
Imagine
planning.
being Adrian Vite missing all that shit. Wow.
That's-
And
Sucks.
finally, what happens to Lube Man? This question came from everyone.
we
Here's
kinda know.
here's our answer on Lube Man. We do know.
Oh, wow.
Here's a memo. A memo from Max Farut, Deputy Director of the FBI. Here we go. Effective immediately, Dale Petey is no longer an agent of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. His employment by the Anti-Vigilante Task Force has been terminated. Go to PDPD to read the whole thing. I'm not going to read the entire thing. However, here's what he says. Similarly, a maintenance crew will be boxing up the contents of Petey's office later this afternoon. Anyone interested in taking anything from the stacks of media, straight up junk cluttering, blah, blah, blah. Multiple copies of Rorschach's journal were found. Hundreds of comic books, and then he puts in parentheses, why our society is still so obsessed with pirates is beyond me. Big time Watchmen reference. And a jug of what appears to be some kind of canola oil.
Okay,
Yep.
there you go.
So Petey's Lube Man.
yeah.
Yep.
Petey's Lube Man.
As we expected.
And Lindelof still didn't want to say it. If you listen to the podcast, he's like, just go to Peteypedia. We basically answered the question for you.
Yeah.
And then later on, he says it's clear from now from his memos that Petey is at risk for vigilante behavior, and most likely always was. Perhaps sooner or later that this task force will be investigating him. And they also mention, I can confirm that Agent Blake is resurfaced following her disappearance in Tulsa. She's being debriefed at a secure and classified location. For those of you whispering that said discoveries involve hoaxes and conspiracies linked to our commander-in-chief, Robert Redford, knowing about Adrian Vite, I'll remind you all of your oaths. What matters most is that Agent Blake is alive and well, and she wishes to thank those who cared for her pet owl while she was away. So they kind of imply that nothing is going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit of an implication that even though they want to put Vite on trial,
Status quo is more important.
may not be going on trial. I want to tie up just a couple things here, and then we'll wrap this up. Lindelof mentioned they were finalizing the show up through Thanksgiving. Post-production.
It's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah, so we were doing these, and they were still editing things.
Still working on VFX and soundtrack and all this shit.
Whoa.
Wanted people to know that he really loved Watchmen. He's like, that's what I want people to pull from this. I think we can confirm that.
Yeah.
This guy knows the fucking source
Yeah, dude, you
material.
like Watchmen. You know this like
This is, he
I know
knows
the back
this.
of my head.
He
Front
said
and
like
back.
he knows people will be watching the show with like their arms folded. Watchmen fans like, oh, I can't wait for this to suck. And he's like, that's how I would watch it too. So I hope I was able to prove them wrong.
Remember, he didn't want to do this for
he had
years. He
to,
turned this
yeah.
down for years. He's like, I just don't want to see someone else do it.
Yeah.
He goes into the concept of how the show works and the themes and all of that, and mentions a writer, Stacey Ase-Kufers, is the one who brought up Legacy and brought up the concept of the mask and understanding that for Hooded Justice, they don't see, like, black kids during that time didn't see a black superhero. They saw a white superhero, and they couldn't be that. So she brings up, he credited her with a lot of that, and credited not just himself. He's like, look, the writer's room is insane here. Like, they brought up these ideas, and they made sure I didn't fuck this story up. The story of race up and class and much more. So he credited a ton of writers there. Said he initially wanted to make Angela. This is the big thing I teased to you. He wanted to make Angela hooked up to a clone of herself at one point. And they told him no. The writer's room was like, no. And he's like, thank God they did. The elephant was better. It's her logo, all of that. So that one was not as planned out as we thought.
Yeah.
But I love that he wanted a clone. And they were like,
that would have really fucked with my brain.
We know a lot of clones don't always work in movies.
They're like, you're going to confuse
we know this well.
everyone. As in terms of Senator KenJac Crawford, he mentioned that there were batteries, Lady True batteries, in the van with the lettuce when the show first starts. That's them stealing them. He says, if you think back to when they had the assault on the 7th Cavalry, they were doing shit with watches. Senator Green mentions in this episode that they had to melt down trillions of watch batteries to trap Dr. Manhattan. So a cool callback there. Lindelof also kind of made fun of people who called the show too political in the podcast.
Yeah.
So
you clearly just have never read
it's
the
a
comic.
political story.
He mentioned that Keen did hate the reparations following all the things that happened in Tulsa, but he also supports cops. So he had this kind of two-way tug where the 7th Cavalry kind of shares his beliefs, but so do the cops. Like he has to not... He has
Play
to
both sides a
decide
little bit,
which side he's picking here, and that's why he kind of plays both sides of the card, and why everyone's kind of his pawn. Adrian Veidt, Lindelof does confirm, like, the play wasn't... When he's writing a play, he wasn't writing the Dr. Manhattan play. He was writing the play of the story he lived all 8 years. That wasn't the exact play that he was seeing. Yeah, so when we see that poor clone get burned up, that wasn't the play. That was him just fucking around.
Yeah.
Like, the real play was everything happening around it. He wants to test out, by the way, he mentions the tier. He wrote the wink from the defense, the people who were going after him, again, prosecution.
Yeah.
The speech from the prosecution, he wrote. That's why they wink at him. And so he's like, I feel like Adrian Veidt wanted to see if he really could feel guilty, because he mentioned in the graphic novel, should I feel bad about this?
Yeah.
But what he did, and he cries because he doesn't feel it. He doesn't feel guilty. He believes forever that he saved the world. And then he said Yahya Abdul-Mateen didn't know he was Dr. Manhattan, but they had to tell him after the pilot because they didn't want him to overact, because he still had to be he had to be John Osterman. He had to be Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah.
He had to be calm. And he's like, at what point?
They're like, dude, we promise we're gonna make sure this is really worth it for you, but for the time being, you gotta be a shitty actor.
You gotta be
exactly.
boring as hell.
To be a regular, very regular dude.
But I was on to you. I was on to you earlier,
Yeah,
motherfucker.
Robbie
Well, Craig Mazin says it too. He makes a joke in the podcast. He's like, well, I guess not everyone's all that great, because he's like, this guy's boring as fuck. This husband stinks, and it turns out he was Dr. Manhattan.
Good old Dr. Manhattan.
It's gonna be crazy to rewatch this and
It is.
Right.
episodes.
That's it. I don't want a season 2.
Neither do I.
I don't think Lindelof wants a season 2.
I would say neither do I.
He mentions
leave it be.
he's going to go on holiday now.
Smart.
He's going to hang out with his
deserves
family.
it.
He's gonna
On
read some
Antarctica.
stuff. And if something pops up, he said he'll pull the antenna back up. If something sparks, he may come back, but it sure as hell doesn't sound like it. The podcast, he sounded a little more negative about it because he did an interview with the Hollywood Reporter, which sounded a little more of an open mind. I would imagine that's the thumb of HBO being like, dude, come back. But if he has no idea, don't do it.
The thumb and the paycheck.
Yes.
I don't want it. I don't want it if he doesn't have an idea, and I don't think he'll do it.
No, we don't need it. This was perfect.
Let him adapt another comic.
Yeah, let him do something else.
Aren't they doing Green Lantern and shit? Give him Green Lantern.
This is just like a totally, I think, self-contained story. There's no real need for a second one, but there's no way.
It's a sequel to this.
Exactly. I don't think that there's any way that HBO doesn't try to make a sequel out of this.
Oh, for sure.
They'll try.
And this is going to be binged pretty heavily, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully people watch our videos, and then we'll see what they do. But this is the last one of these. It's a bummer.
Yeah, sad.
We'll move on. We'll go to his fart materials.
We're actually
next.
24 hours from now. So thanks to Watchmen. Thanks to Damon Lindelof. Feel free to come talk to us whenever you want.
Please.
Thanks for watching
Yeah,
the
please
Watchmen
do.
videos. Star Wars this week, though. Same thing. We're doing a review of The Rise of Skywalker. It will be out Thursday, the 19th. At 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So when you leave the theater with The Rise of Skywalker, we're seeing it in 24 hours. No big
Look,
deal.
it's not a big deal at all.
Whatever.
Not a big deal.
We're going to pre-record it, have it ready to go. It'll drop then, so you can watch it and hear our review, hear our thoughts on the wrapping up of the Skywalker saga. But also before that, on Wednesday the 18th, The Mandalorian is early this week, so we will do a Mandalorian recap video. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button if you're on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell icon so you know when all these drop. And let us know below what would you want to see with a season 2, and if you want to even see a season 2 of Watchmen. Thanks as always for watching these and for watching this series. Well, plenty more of these. For Robbie, KenJac, I'm Jeff Lowe. We'll talk to you next time.